Welcome to Line to Game. Excuse me, no, Rally Tail Sports. That's a bad
Oh,
habit. Welcome to Rally Tail Sports Town Hall Tuesday. I am Corey, and with us, as always, is Bobby and Todd. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we tonight on this fine Tuesday evening, January the 4th of 2022?
first stream of 2022.
First one, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
So, how's everyone's New Year's? Did you guys do anything crazy?
No, it's just pretty low key. Just
Oh,
hung
yeah.
out.
I slept from 10 to 11:57 when Mary woke me up and said, "Hey, the ball's dropping in 3 minutes." And I said, "Okay."
There you go. That's how you know you're getting old. I stayed up entirely too late. So had a great time though.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then I had to be a dad
all that
the
matters.
next day. So that was fun.
Oof. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
No,
you
no
know.
bueno.
But I had
That's
a
what I was
really,
trying
really,
to-
really, really, really good Sunday, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Say
We'll
you
talk
guys
a
hit,
little
I'd
bit
say you
about
guys had a decent Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to get into NFL now? Do we want to talk college football at all? What are we feeling?
Let's just get right into the NFL. Let's just take our tops off and get right into the NFL here.
All right. Does anybody want to give us a current lowdown of the playoff standings? Just let me pull that up real quick. We
Yeah,
can
I
get
got
that
it.
going.
So before I get into this, I just would like for you gentlemen to both know that I just heard, or rather read, uh, Derrick Henry will be back for the playoffs.
That's
That's the
terrifying.
mindset. Yeah.
That is, if you are in the AFC and that guy comes back, even at like 85%, there's a real genuine concern there because the Titans get significantly better with him in the backfield.
They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know the thing with Derrick Henry, and I guess we're just gonna go ahead and get into this now. I mean, the Titans have had Derrick Henry though. That's the thing is that
Sure.
they've had this team. I guess they have gotten better on defense. They've proven that this year with AJ and Julio. AJ Brown and Julio Jones obviously on the field together. Their offense is a lot more dynamic. So I guess and they're the number one seed right now in the AFC.
They are.
Thanks to the Bengals, and I guess that deserves some respect, right? At the same time, I like as a Bengals fan, I don't necessarily fear matching up with Tennessee. I almost view them in the same regard as like the Bengals.
Such a beautiful picture.
When it matters right now,
Yeah.
towards the end of the season. So yes, I mean it's not like it. I think it is due some respect that Derrick Henry will be back for the playoffs, but it's not like Titans are going to the
No,
Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
no, I don't. I don't think that at all. I think that just makes them much more of a threat than kind of what was projected going into the playoffs. And
What
look,
was his
Deonta
injury
Foreman is
again? What was his
he had
injury?
a foot injury that required surgery.
Okay, that's right.
Um,
Okay.
but I think look, I think just look at the AFC playoff picture. You have five teams that are locked in right now. So it goes Tennessee,
Before you get into this real
Kansas
quick, I'm
City.
thirsty, so I want to show I can no longer bring my lunch pail to work anymore.
No.
I have to show these people. So pardon the motion sickness. Daddy's upgraded. Little bear right now.
That's it.
Little bear right now.
It's empty.
Well, I just set the damn thing up, Robert. All right.
I did.
But we got
Am I-
something special tonight. It's the last few remaining that I have.
It's the last of the Great Lakes Christmas ales.
Great Lakes Christmas Ale, straight out of Cleveland. So, yeah, America. Do go on. I'm so sorry I interrupted that way.
That's okay. So, Tennessee, Kansas City, the Bengals at 3,
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo at 4, New England at 5. Now that can change, but they're just both clinched right now.
Yeah,
So
all those
then
teams are
you
in the playoffs one way or the other,
right.
and all of
So
those
then we
teams
have
could hypothetically get the 1 seed,
right,
other than Buffalo.
which is crazy.
Other than
Yeah.
Buffalo, yeah.
But then you have 4 teams duking it out for 2 spots. So you got the Colts at 9-7, the Chargers at 9-7, the Raiders at 9-7, and the Steelers at 8-7-1, all vying for those last 2 playoff spots.
Insane, insane.
And technically, you still have Baltimore. Now they need a myriad of things for them to
They
to
need a
get
lot.
into the playoff,
They need a lot
but
of help,
they are technically not out of contention.
which is
So
insane.
really, you have five teams for 2 spots, but more than likely, 4 teams are really vying for those last 2 spots. And if today they canceled Sunday, regular season was over, it is the Colts and the Chargers that are getting in.
So the Colts play the Jaguars on Sunday, and I believe the Raiders and Chargers are the final game of the regular season on Sunday night.
Yeah, they are the primetime game on Sunday night.
Grace of God, the clown fans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So if you don't, I'm not calling all fans of the Jaguars clowns. They literally on Sunday, all of their fans are boycotting the general manager and dressing up as clowns, which is fucking hilarious. I can't wait to see this.
That'll be awesome.
When they play the Colts on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Let's say by some miracle the Jaguars beat the Colts. Colts are technically at that time out of the playoffs. If the Chargers and Raiders tie on Sunday night. So let me just throw this back. The Jaguars and the Colts play at 1 o'clock. If the Jaguars win, the Raiders and Chargers, whom play at 8 p.m. that night, could take a handshake agreement to literally kneel the ball on 15 different possessions and call it a day, and both go to the playoffs.
Yep.
A 0-0 tie, 60 minutes of broadcasters really struggling to figure out what the fuck they're going to talk about. And they both go on, presumably no injuries. Just
A week
guarantee
off.
that they're in the playoffs. And you say, well, why would you do that? Because, well, if you play, you obviously risk not winning. And
Yep.
if one team wins, that other team is out, the one that loses, and the Colts are still in. So
Right.
it's
That will never
wild.
happen, but that would be absolutely insane.
Here's the thing. I agree.
So are you saying the Jags won't beat the Colts? Is that what you
No,
feel?
I'm just saying if that scenario does come up, there's no way that they're just gonna
I want it so bad.
take knees and tie. But
I'll be honest with you. Sports have changed so much in the last 5 years. That's not out of the realm of possibility. That scenario exists because it's been spoken of several times already. Multiple people have brought this to light, saying like, "Hey, there's a real legitimate chance that the Chargers and the Raiders have just a general gentleman's agreement, like, hey, I won't do this, you won't do this," and then you just call the game, basically, and you just run it out.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Like if you're in that position, why wouldn't you do that? You're already going to be on the
Right.
road the entirety of the playoffs. You're a wild card team. You're already going to be on the road the entirety of the playoffs. It's not like you're vying for seeding. There's really no upside to playing the game at that point. Take 15 possessions, knee the ball three times each. Call it a day. I don't know why you wouldn't do it, and I hope it happens because it'd just be so like Roger Goodell. I could just see it, just like, oh, what am I gonna do? Like just freaking out. It would just be amazing. Speaking of Roger Goodell, he was on the Peyton and Eli broadcast last night. If you caught Monday Night Football, Bobby, I'm sure you were watching, which was Ben Roethlisberger's presumably last home game at Heinz Field. I did try and watch it. I got about
No, I actually didn't watch any of it. I don't have cable anymore. I got rid of it.
oh Robert.
I don't watch a lot of outside of football when it comes around. I don't watch it. I don't watch
Well,
TV.
well, here you are on a football show. I couldn't. I just couldn't bear it. It was really, really, really bad football. Todd, did you catch any of it?
Yeah, so actually rewatched most of the game this morning. Um, Najee Harris played like a man possessed, and that's really the only highlight of the game for me. That's it. Honestly, that's it. Baker
So yeah, just gonna get to that.
Mayfield played. Just absolutely horrendous. You're deciding after playing with a torn labrum the entire year. Last night was like, all right, well now he's going to sit out.
You
And
know
look,
what? Now it's time.
yeah, and I understand part of it. Like, hey, there's a vying chance for playoff contention there, but he's played terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible the last 5 weeks. Um,
it hasn't
and
been great.
didn't look any better. Yeah, did not look any better last night. And Nick Chubb didn't. Cleveland's offensive line is in shambles just to begin with, but Nick Chubb couldn't get anything going. And then when he did try to get something going, Baker Mayfield couldn't throw the ball. So then there was no threat over the air. So then you hand the ball to Chubb, he's shut down immediately.
Couple of shout outs real quick. Bruce, thanks for liking the video. Shout out to Cody Bauer coming in with the like. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, so it just a fucking awful game. Honestly, it was awful. I watched 3/4 of it. I wanted to see Ben Roethlisberger throw at least one touchdown at Heinz Field. That was good. Like, it was satisfying to kind of as satisfying as it can be for me to be like, oh, that's cool, he did that, right?
Yeah.
Like, now put a stamp on your career as a Steeler. That's
Right.
really it.
Yeah, and it was pageantry last night more than anything. And I was talking to one of my Browns, just kind of get back to Baker. You mentioned that was pretty much the highlight of the game. The low light of the game is Baker Mayfield set an NFL record for 10 straight incompletions. So there's that. But
Just to put it in perspective, what Corey's saying, it's not like the ball. He didn't throw the ball well either, right? Like,
right,
it wasn't him. He wasn't really. He was somewhat pressured, but Baker's a scrambler. He understands how to throw out of the pocket. It was uncomfortable to watch him play so poorly. Honestly, I felt uncomfortable watching him. He's genuinely struggling.
I genuinely don't enjoy watching him play most games. I get anxiety watching Baker Mayfield play because he never stops. He's doing this the whole time. He's moving, like chopping his feet, like. And there's a difference between a quarterback continuously moving versus a quarterback doing what he does and looks anxious and unsettled in the pocket and not really ready to set and throw like he's supposed to. But real quick on the Browns, and I want to get back to the Steelers real quick. Just a message from my buddy Aaron, who's a huge Browns fan. He said, although I'm happy for you as a person, I cannot tell you how frustrating it is to have gone through a 1-31 season, so 2 seasons combined there, the 1 win and the 0 win, to finally winning a playoff game, to wondering who the fuck your quarterback is going to be. Like, I feel bad for Browns fans. Like, I don't feel that bad for the Browns. Like, I always want them to lose, but like Browns fans, like, they've been on an emotional roller coaster.
Absolutely.
You go into this season thinking we got our quarterback, we got our running back, we got our wide receivers, we got our offensive line. We just need to shore up the defense, and we're going to be knocking on the door of the Lombardi. Didn't go that way. They're going to be sitting in the cellar. Insane. Absolutely insane.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how quickly that franchise demise, because even and to like kind of put a bow on that, it's, as a Browns fan, you're watching a new coach in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out since the franchise came back into existence when
Yep.
they drafted Tim Couch, right? Like
Absolutely.
we've seen a new coach basically every other year for the Browns, and then
Since
you
what,
think
96? Is that?
96.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
and then you think, oh, Kevin Stefanski, this is our guy. He runs a good locker room. He's good with the public. He's a good face for the franchise. And then you don't get to the playoffs when you like this is the team that was going to. I mean, we talked about you projected that they were going to win the AFC North, right? Like
absolutely.
I did
Absolutely.
too.
I figured the
And
Ravens were. I didn't predict the Ravens were going to be decimated by injuries this bad. I thought the Steelers were going to be on their way down, just due to Ben, his age and things like that. I obviously couldn't foresee Smith Schuster being out for the entirety of the season, but
right,
and I didn't know Najee was going to be that good. I knew he was going to be good. I didn't know he was going to be that good.
it's very
Um,
talented.
but
I think a lot of people shit on the Steelers for drafting him, and
see, I don't know many people that did. When I drafted, I was like, "Oh fuck!" That's immediately the thought that went through my head. I was like, "God damn it!"
yeah, well, I think there were a lot of people that thought that they were going to try to shore up their interior line because there were some good offensive linemen still available
Yeah,
when they took
yeah,
Najee
yeah,
Harris, and there were a lot of people like, I don't know, this seems like a kind of a reach, and in reality, I mean that was great for them.
yeah,
You could build an offense around that, right? And if you're going to bring a new quarterback in, you have to,
yeah.
unless it's
Absolutely.
fucking Aaron Rodgers, which is probably going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I totally get what you're saying. And another quick statistic just about the Browns. Again, I do want to point out one more thing for the Steelers here. Um, that Odell Beckham Jr. has now 5 touchdowns with the Rams. He had 4 the entire time with the Cleveland Browns. So
Yep.
How many games was he with the Browns?
He was with them for 2 seasons. I don't know if he played a full season in either one, but nonetheless, more games than he's been with the
Yeah,
Rams.
sad.
But quick moment of acknowledgement, a huge accomplishment for Satan himself, Mike Tomlin. He is 15 consecutive seasons without a losing season. I mean, absolutely incredible.
That's crazy.
No one will come close to that, I don't think.
No way. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way in the NFL anymore. That teams are that good every single year. There's always a flutter year mixed into a decade.
And I think
they just haven't had that.
Yeah, and I think at first it was like, okay, this is Cowher's roster. Like this is his regime. Like even like I could almost even say that first Super Bowl was kind of right. Am I wrong? Like that was pretty soon right after Cowher left, right?
Those 2 years, 3 years.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's like the NFL is built for parity. You can't. This isn't college. Like Ryan Day going to the playoff the very next year with Ohio State's roster. That's Urban's roster, actually. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same thing in the NFL. So for the continued success, I think it's just a statement to the front office and Mike Tomlin and the ability to build, at the very least 500 culture. You know what I'm saying? Nothing lower than 500 at any time.
A shit ton of playoff appearances to button that up too.
So that said, the Steelers are still in contention, Bobby. You feel like they got a shot? I mean, they need some help. Let's not get carried away. They definitely need some help.
I mean, they need some help. They're playing the Ravens this week. Another divisional matchup. Was it 3 of the last 4 weeks they've played divisional matchups?
Crazy.
Or 3 of the last 5. It's as we know, the AFC North is one of the most competitive divisions of football right now. I would say probably the last couple of weeks, excluding the Browns and the Ravens. The Bengals have been so hot, like it's just insane. But yeah, they're gonna need some help. What does it look like for them to get in?
So I can pull
what has to happen?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of this stuff going around Twitter, and I'll try and pull it up real quick. But I definitely think they need the Colts to. Oh, hey, here we go. Oh no, that's the COVID list. We'll get to that in a little bit. Tons of guys going on the COVID-19 reserve list today. All right, week 18 playoff scenarios. The Pittsburgh Steelers clinch a playoff berth with a win over Baltimore, an Indianapolis loss to Jacksonville, and as long as the Vegas Chargers game does not end in a tie.
So, really, they're pretty much out. I do not foresee the Colts taking an L with the Jags.
I don't either. Crazier stuff has happened. The Jags beat Buffalo, right?
Sure, shut them out.
shut them out 9-0.
Yeah.
So I think crazier stuff obviously has happened, but they definitely need some help. That said,
Yeah.
I would love for the Bengals to host the Steelers in the wild card weekend. I would love it. That would be
That'd
amazing.
be, that would be magical.
That'd be
That'd
an
be
ass
my
whooping.
that would be my wish. My wish for you is that the Steelers.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I
Look,
want.
there's a lot of things that have to fall into Pittsburgh's hands, but I mean, look, this season's been nuts. There's so many things that could, like, Jacksonville could beat Indianapolis and
The Broncos could beat the
whatever.
Chiefs.
Right, yeah, you just you just don't know.
So
It's
here's
crazy.
here's something else that's crazy. So currently, right now, as you mentioned, the top four seeds, you in this order, you got Tennessee, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo. Those are your top four seeds. Let's say Buffalo loses. Let's say New England wins. Let's say the Bengals win. The Chiefs and Titans lose. Your AFC playoff picture, the road to the Super Bowl, my friends, would not run through Cincinnati. It would run through Foxborough, fucking Massachusetts. Again.
Again
Again.
with Mac
Insane.
Jones.
Insane. So, yeah, I mean, that would just be absolutely asinine. The only way the Bengals get it is if they win, Chiefs lose, Titans lose, and New England doesn't win.
Mhm.
That's how the Bengals get the number one overall seed. I would take the number two as a Bengals fan. I'd be really cool with number two seed, because then you're pretty much guaranteed two home games
Right.
en route to the AFC Championship game, which gives you a better chance of potentially having three, right? Two rounds of upsets where that number one seed, or rather, I'm sorry, one more round of upsets where that number one seed could get bounced in the divisional round. You never know. Crazier stuff has happened. Um, but I ask you this: and Bobby, just put on a pretend hat. I mean, if you're the Bengals, who do you really want other than the Steelers? Like somebody that is basically winning in. I like the illustration there, Robert. Somebody that's winning in, control their own destiny, kind of team. Who would you want to see wild card weekend in Paul Brown Stadium if you're the Bengals?
Uh, Man, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Honestly, probably probably the Chargers.
Oh, okay. Why the Chargers?
I think that's a game with Cincinnati can just handle.
Well, they
I
they got beat by the Chargers earlier this season, if you
I
remember.
know, but round two would be different this time. Yeah, it's kind of like the Bills and the Patriots prediction that you had.
Sure.
Um,
I mean,
you
I'd
know,
be very happy, but
right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've been on a. I mean, they haven't played really good football the last couple of weeks.
sure.
I know they got a win last week, um, but yeah, they just haven't been doing anything mind blowing. I mean, they got Austin Eckler back, which I think was a huge help in their win.
Right.
I think he's a big part of that offense, but
I think you could even argue that they haven't played well since they beat the Bengals.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah. That's a good
that
point.
was
They're kind
kind
of
of
limping
that
into
was,
the playoffs, which is exactly
yeah,
what you don't want to be doing right now.
that was their capstone, and they've kind of been on this decline. I I'm I almost want to agree with Bobby.
Yeah.
I think that if I'm looking at a team that the cards are stacked in your deck, if you're Cincinnati, the cards are stacked in your deck. I think you almost want to play LA, right? You have the time zone variance, which is it's the greatest time zone variance between any team that they could play.
I'm not convinced that's a
They're not
real
playing
thing.
great
I'm not
football.
convinced
I
that's
mean,
a real thing, though.
I think there's some implication there. I think time zone matters.
We need an
And
intern. We need an intern to look this shit up that can tell me right now what is the stat since like 2016. I want to know what the West Coast teams have done on the East Coast at a 1 o'clock slot. Maybe
yeah,
a 4 o'clock
I'm
slot.
sure there's some data mining there, but I'm sure we could probably put something together. But I think that the Chargers are the team you want to match up with because I think the Raiders have played well. They played a hell of a game against the Colts. Um, I, I, I mean, look, I don't trust Derek Carr.
See,
I
that's
trust
my
him
that's
less than
my
I trust
pick.
Justin Herbert.
I would want the
Right.
Raiders again. That's who I want is the Raiders because they. I mean,
Because
we can stop. They don't have anybody on offense that we can't handle. There's nobody that we can't handle on the
yeah,
Raiders, and their run defense
that's
is
fair.
atrocious. They can't. Now Burrow is going to be on alert. He's going to take some hits, which what fucking is new? Nothing. You know that's what he's done all season. He's the
Right.
most sacked quarterback in the NFL. But I feel confident that our defense can shut down anything the Raiders have to offer. We did it. We blew them out. Actually, I would love for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Like I think we would roll in with a ton of confidence into that game. I think the Raiders would come in a little nervous. Like they came to our house and smacked us around. Now we got to go into the jungle, which by the way has been revitalized over the last couple of games. Just well, obviously we're hosting Baltimore and then hosting the Chiefs. That place is rocking right now. I
Yeah.
mean, I was very happy to see, especially the Baltimore game coming so quickly after Christmas. Tons of people in the stands, and then the Chiefs game obviously was fully packed. Seeing a ton of people in there, so you could definitely hear it on the TV broadcast at the very least. And I had a ton of family that went down to that game. So, um, but we haven't rapped about the Chiefs game yet. I mean, I just got goosebumps just bringing it up, man. I mean, just Bobby. Before we get completely homer on it, I just want like an outside perspective, like a little sense of nuance here, and just kind of what was your perspective, takeaways from the game?
Is there anything Joe Burrow can't do? That and Jamar Chase, that kid's unbelievable. That first touchdown he scored on, how did he
You're not helping my ego at all,
how did Jamar Chase score on that first touchdown?
dude.
He had three
God.
people here and then one here, and he was right smack in the middle, and somehow he found a way in
Yes.
what was it, a 60-yard
His
touchdown?
hit 68. Yeah, his first two or three steps after he catches a ball are absolutely insane. I don't know if anybody moves after a reception the way that he does, other than Devonte Adams. I think that's the only person. That's the only person that
He's
comes
like
to mind. That's
Devontae mixed with Tyreek in terms of
yeah,
like top end
because he's so
speed. Like it's
fast. Yes,
stupid. It's stupid.
yes.
Like the Chiefs don't have bums in their secondary. Like
No,
over the
that's a
last six
that's a
weeks, they've probably played the best defense of anybody in the NFL, other than
that's a
maybe the
they're a
Patriots. I don't know, but
yeah they're a top 10 pass defending defense in the NFL this year. Like, and they put a ton of pressure on Burrow still.
oh, he got
And
rocked. He got hit
yeah,
a ton.
and look, I'll be fully transparent. I spent almost the first half of that game in the fucking return line at Coles.
Oh God.
I spent almost 2 hours in this line.
I've told my wife and family and in-laws, and if you family, if you haven't heard yet, consider this your announcement. I am no longer available on Sundays and potentially Saturdays. Just keep that in mind. We don't have the playoff schedule yet, guys. Okay, we don't know. So my time is not yours unless just refer to the Bengals schedule. If they play that day, just consider me not available for any
Right.
tasks, including Cole's return lines.
Yeah. Look, I wasn't anticipating that, but then you get into that line, you're like, well,
And there's
shit, I
just
can't get out.
14,000 people there. All yeah.
And
How many dad?
every
Here's the real quick. How many
and every
dads
other
were in the
person.
same position as you? Just like get me the fuck out of here. There's football on. How many guys did you
Oh
see
my
like
God.
that?
Every other person had a significant other with them, and you could see in succinction just yes, constantly.
Refresh.
And
Refresh.
and I just kept telling Mary, I was like, I had like my carrier for Declan. I was like, I'm just gonna walk around. I can't stand in this line.
Yeah.
Like, I just gotta walk around. I'm gonna follow this game on my phone. Let me walk around for.
So was this Cole's attached to a mall?
No, it's a freestanding Coles.
See, my mindset was I'm thinking forced fare, right? Walk outside, go find the nearest California pizza kitchen, catch a TV on the outside, maybe snag a meat ultra, come back. Hey, Mayor, ready to roll? What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, you're still
Yeah.
in line. No way. Yeah.
I did not get that lucky. And it was unfortunately for a gift that I bought Mary, so I had to be the one that returned it.
Sure, sure. Well,
But
we appreciate your sacrifice. Might be why we brought home the dub. But I mean,
that was going to be my point. Was I didn't watch the game until there was 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter because they started playing so well. And I was like, "Fuck, I can't turn the TV on because what if they start playing bad?"
yeah,
So I'm just constantly staring at my phone. And Mary's like, "Todd, just turn the game on. Just turn."
like you have no impact.
And then she'd be like, well, but then she would say, "No, don't do it. Don't turn the game on. Just wait." And then finally, it was fucking 31-3. I was like, "Mary, I gotta turn the game on."
I gotta do it. I gotta do it. Dude,
But
here's the thing. Here's what happened. So we all watched the Jaguars game together, and at halftime, I put my poncho vibes on. Right. I had 0 beers first half of the game. Cracked one right at the beginning of the second half. And from there out, it was all Houday. It was all Bengals. It was all Bengals because I cracked a beverage right at halftime. I was like, you know what, I'm going to drink a beer. And I'll tell you, man, that first half, when we went down 14-0, I was like, oh my God, please don't get blown out. Please don't get blown out. Like, I went into that game, I was like, all right, we can win this game. But more importantly, I want to hang with them. I want to see where the rebuild is at. Like, where are we? Like, how close are we to the Chiefs? Because they are the litmus test. Like, they are the bar in the AFC. They've proven it over the last 4 fucking years. They are the bar, right? You need to beat them. That's why they drafted Jamar Chase. They drafted Jamar Chase to beat the Chiefs.
Right.
Who beat the Chiefs on Sunday?
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. Yeah, Joe Burrow was putting it out there, but Jamar Chase,
266 yards.
Wait, 266 more yards than Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell had 0 receiving yards on Sunday.
It's true. He did not catch any passes on Sunday.
And Todd, I think you probably have your ear pretty close to the Bengals Twitter as well. I'm pretty submerged in Bengals Twitter, more as I perceive it and receive the information. I don't really contribute that much. But one thing I have perceived and seen on Bengals Twitter is that we are triggering fan bases across Twitter. Triggering. Baltimore, when we came out and beat your YMCA 16 under team, triggered. They were triggered. They were so upset. Kansas City, they're throwing out, how many Super Bowls have you been to? They do the same old poverty franchise. Dude, it is hilarious, and I'm here for it.
It was.
These are Chiefs C words. They're the C words now. This is their tiers. Oh, they're so good. They're so life-giving.
I never. So I know Kansas City has they have a good sized fan base, right? They
massive,
actually
massive.
Yeah,
fans. I mean, listen, they're in fucking Kansas City. What
right.
else you got? Barbecue and C words. That's it.
Right, and it was almost like I was sad at the amount of excuses that Chiefs fans made for losing that game. Look, penalties. I understand football, and
Josh, thanks for liking the video, buddy.
Maybe 1 or 2 times in my whole lifetime of watching football have I said a call that a referee made changed the whole trajectory of that game for X team to lose to Y. No penalty happened on Sunday during that game that caused the Chiefs to lose. No, it did not.
Well, here's the thing, and people are going to reference the penalties at the end of the game, particularly at the end zone and the goal line stand that led to the Evan McPherson field goal. Which, by the way, if we have any fans that are good at editing video and sound together, if you could take that Evan McPherson video and sync it with the Titanic theme song, right as the crescendo where he kicks and they celebrate, that would be fantastic. If you go back and look at the film, they're blatant holds. Like, first of all, they held Jamar Chase like 3 other fucking times in the game. They did it again down there, and then they did one on Tyler Boyd as well in the end zone. They're blatant penalties. Like, these guys could not cover them. I'm sorry, they're penalties.
Right.
Don't do it. I don't know what to tell you. Give up a touchdown then. Get the ball back. I don't know what to tell you.
I was actually talking to somebody that I used to work with about that. And he kind of he was trying to play devil's advocate with me. He's like, what does Kansas City do? I'm like, give up the fucking touchdown
Yep.
and get the ball back with less
Yep.
than 2 minutes left and
100%.
score. Right? You have to
100%.
you if there's any, I mean, other than Aaron Rodgers right now, if there's and Tom Brady, if there's any quarterback I want running a 2 minute drill, it's fucking Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that, I mean,
yeah, give up the
100%.
touchdown and give him the ball back. Right? It's clear. That's if I'm Kansas City, I'm surprised they didn't do that. Honestly,
Yeah, like open up the floodgates, just let them in. Kind of like Canadian football style. They do that in the CFL quite often, and just let them score. So, I mean, I've wrote a couple of pieces on cincyjungle.com, and I appreciate you guys sharing those, and everybody that's checked that out. Thank you so much. But the main theme of these pieces is raising the bar, right? We've talked about how after they beat the Ravens, with 2 games left, the bar was let's win the division, right? Win the division. You only have to win one of these last 2 games, Chiefs and Browns. That's where the bar is. That's the minimum. If you don't do it, you failed in the season, right? Now, after they've beaten the Chiefs, they've clinched the division, 1 game to go. They will be hosting a playoff game. It's like, okay, now where's the minimum of the floor, as I've called it in a couple of these articles. The floor now for me, you have to win a playoff game. If you don't win a playoff game, the season is a failure.
mm-hmm.
That's it.
I agree.
And kind of a middle tier goal would be getting to the AFC Championship game, fighting for a chance to get to the Super Bowl, winning the AFC, and then obviously playing in the fucking parade. But we're not going to get too crazy. We got a lot of football left ahead of us.
Yeah.
So Bobby, any game? I know you were streaming on Solace a lot on Sunday, but any games or results that kind of stuck out to you from Sunday that had playoff implications, or God forbid you have the results of our picks in front of you?
I do actually have them. No, I mean, to be completely honest, the Bengals game was the one that got me the most, man.
Yeah.
Like when I heard how that game ended, and the fact that they went for it like 8 times, like on the goal line, and just didn't get it.
The real question is that did you hear me screaming from across the street? Because
I heard something.
That was me.
That's impressive.
Screaming at the top of my lungs in my family room, absolutely losing my shit.
So what did you do when they won? I want to know exactly what you did in the next 3 minutes after they won.
So I jumped up, and then I said a lot of stuff. Most of them revolved around me just saying "fuck" a bunch of times.
Right. Because Declan's not retaining any of this shit. You're good.
Exactly. You're exactly right. He's 9 months old.
He's no not way even clicked onto the fucking main server yet, so you're totally good.
A lot of Tiger Woods fist bumps. I mean, just a myriad of Tiger Woods fist bumps, and then just kind of like a trot around just like the lower level of our townhouse.
How long did you continuously move? I couldn't stop walking for a solid 4 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 to 6 minutes. Yeah. I don't know. And there was a lot of me at the end going, "Ooh, this really happened. Holy shit, this happened." I said that probably 4 or 5 times. Yep. I high-fived Mary 36 times.
That's awesome.
Me and Declan are just looking at each other, and because he's giggling, because he's like, "Oh, look at Dad, he's so excited." He's just laughing, and it's awesome. Cute. Yeah, it was a really cool moment, man. I think that it's funny because, again, a lot of Kansas City fans and other city sports fans were giving Bengals fans so much shit for celebrating a division championship, right? There was a lot of people.
Sorry, we haven't done it 6 fucking years in a row.
Right, act like you've been there before.
Yeah, we don't play the Broncos twice a year, you dickwads.
Remember 2 years ago when the Bengals won 2 games? Guess what? They just won their fucking division 2 years later. Yeah, shut your mouth. That's a huge deal. Yeah. That for a franchise, that is an enormous and expedited turnaround. That does not happen very often.
No. So, yeah, my reaction was pretty similar. I immediately started singing slightly out of key, "We Are the Champions" by Queen, very loudly. The girls were down for a nap at kickoff. They woke up probably somewhere midway through the third quarter, and my wife is an angel and was like, "Let's go in mommy and daddy's room and watch TV. And every commercial break, I'm like running up snacks and like just keeping them satisfied. It's like, we're just gonna let daddy just have his time for this one because I was a sociopath for most of the game,
Yep.
just like standing up like Jim Harbaugh.
That's a perfect. That's a perfect face to make for for that description. You're right though, because
I
I
was Jim
have this
Harbaugh.
like
I was just like, yeah. Or like Bill.
yeah, I was standing so close to our TV in our living room. Mary even said the words out of her mouth were, "Please be careful."
Please don't break that TV. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
please be careful. And I was like, Mary, it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah,
And shout out to Evan McPherson for just getting it done, right? Like I
yeah. I
feel good.
mean, if you miss that, you should probably just get
Look,
shot behind a bar somewhere. But
sure, sure, but to be fair, like the dude's hit a
that
ton
might
of
be a little drastic. I'm gonna take
yeah,
that
that's a
one back.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's hit a ton of plus 45-yard field goals for the
50 plus,
Bengals
the
and
most
Stitcher.
in Bengals
Yeah,
history. I think
it,
or most for a rookie or most
yeah,
for a Bengal in one season, something like that. Yeah.
yeah. It's and look, having a good kicker is a very, very important part of a franchise, right?
Look, the Ravens
Vinatieri did it.
have done it. You know what I'm saying? Like they've had Justin Tucker
Yeah,
for the last decade, and how many
yeah.
games has he won for them? Tons,
So many. Too many.
tons.
I would say probably over 20 at this point in his career. And Vinatieri did it for the Colts and the Patriots. I mean, like those that piece matters, right? And I
Yeah.
think that when you talk about the Bengals, that's another piece that you can check off because you already have one of the best punters, right? Kevin
So,
Huber is one of the best punters in the NFL, so
well,
you
I would
trust
say
him.
he was at one point. I definitely think there's a lot
Yeah,
that's come off of Huber. He's just consistent, and you don't really get a lot of bad punts out of Kevin Huber anymore.
right.
But he made the Pro Bowl about a decade ago. So I mean, but one of the things that about having a kicker like McPherson or like a Tucker is that you shorten the field. You have to only move 15 yards across the 50-yard line, and then you're guaranteed points pretty much, right? So that's the biggest thing about having a kicker like that is it allows you to be so much more particular and I think we lost Todd here, but allows you to be allows you to be a little bit more liberal with your play calling because you know that once you get to that 35-yard line, Money Mac's going to take it from there. So we're going to text him. Oh, okay. Todd had a brownout, which for those of you that don't live in shitty power grids, it means that his power went out briefly. So he will be back with us.
Bro, I've never heard of a brownout.
Yeah, well, come on up here to Michigan, where they've decided to design power grids that are surrounded by trees everywhere, and they run basically power lines through branches. So if a little comes by, pop. Anywho, I'm not bitter.
That would drive me nuts.
Dude, it's so stupid. Like every time we come home from like a long weekend, like our oven just has that PF on it, and the fucking clock's blinking. I'm like, are you kidding me? Again with this shit? All right, so let's see if there's any other games. So, I'm just saying, boys. I called two of them, two of the big ones, Titans and Bengals. And what did I say? I said the Dolphins have won 7 or 8 straight. The Chiefs have won 8 straight. Odds say they will lose. And they did. They did. It's my D-gen self coming out here.
Yeah, yeah, it basically solidified my spot in the cellar.
Oh, Bob. So we got to plan a trip I got to come to Columbus then. I'm assuming, right? In
Um,
in in what world would you both have come up to Detroit? Is what I want to know.
I'd have to wait for Todd. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
I,
know. I don't know how that happens.
I have no problems with it, but
Just, I mean, logistically speaking. It's not responsible.
Right. Well, there's
Oh,
plenty of places for you to crash down here, sir.
absolute perfect. Like you have a king, so we could share.
Yeah, I mean we could sleep. I mean, as long as you don't mind cuddling.
I prefer. I know it doesn't make sense being 6'5", but I am a little spoon. I'm a little spoon.
Oh, no shit. I didn't realize you were that tall.
Oh yeah, yeah. Once I yeah, I don't think I've seen you since like right after we graduated, but I was like 19. I hit a growth spurt, so probably should have kept playing football.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah, you and Todd's 6'4". You're 6'5". I'm sitting over here, a sweet sub sixer.
Not in our hearts.
I
6'7"
appreciate
in our
that.
hearts, Bob.
6'7". I wish.
So, did you? I don't know if you got to catch it, but on the Cowboys Cardinals game, did you get to catch that at all?
No.
Pretty good game. I was surprised by the result. I definitely, my rule. After you cut the bird, don't bet on the bird. So after Thanksgiving, don't bet on the Cardinals, and they proved me wrong. They went into Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, and beat the Cowboys. Michael
That's
Gallup, I
correct.
believe, suffering an ACL injury. Michael Gallup is out for the season, which sucks if you're Dallas. Not necessarily for the just pure production of Michael Gallup, but having that, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup combo, that trio, is huge. It'd be like if Tyler Boyd went out. You know what I'm saying, for the Bengals.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, pretty disheartening if you're a Cowboys fan, but nonetheless, the Cowboys still, they've won the NFC East and moving forward, and the Cardinals. I believe the Cardinals have locked in a spot, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
I believe they have clinched a playoff berth.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull
If
it
I
up
read
right
if I
now.
read that correctly, I've got it pulled up here. Let's see.
Yes.
Cardinals, they've clinched playoffs. They don't have a set spot yet, but they've clinched.
So here's the thing. There he is. He's
Sorry,
back.
Welcome back.
It's okay.
I had,
You don't
That's
control
crazy.
the power grid. You're
He's
not
right
Ted
dude.
across
I,
the
Cruz.
he's right across the street from me. I didn't lose power.
I
So
flipped a breaker
I think
somehow.
he's
I don't know
lying. I
what.
think he just shit himself.
Flipped a breaker. I just panicked. I'm like, oh shit, what happened?
So is there any scenario in which the Cardinals can win the division still? Oh, here we go. If the Rams lose to San Francisco and the Cardinals win, they
which is
play.
a decent possibility.
Yeah, I mean they play the Seahawks. If Arizona wins and the Rams lose, which is also a decent possibility, we'll talk a little bit of that here in just a second. I don't know if you guys watched it or anything, but I didn't. I was following along on my phone. But the Niners game, that's who the Rams play on Sunday. But we were just talking about the Cardinals upsetting the Cowboys in Dallas, and a big win for them. So they still have an opportunity to host a playoff game this season after scorching the earth, going 8-0 to start the year. Kyler obviously getting hurt, cooling off. Hopkins out for a little bit as well. Edmonds out for a little bit as well. They're starting to get healthy now. The Cardinals are. Everybody's getting healthy and things are looking good. James Conner, though, he was out on Sunday on a COVID issue, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's right.
So that doesn't appear to be a long term scenario for the Cardinals. I mean, are they a sleeper? Are they somebody that could shock a few people in the NFC? What do you guys think?
What do you think, Bobby? You can go first.
Yeah. I don't think the Cardinals are a sleeper at all. I mean, they've got a lot of talent.
Oh, so
They've got
you're not even so you're saying they absolutely could make a playoff run, and they should be a favorite rather.
I wouldn't say they should be a favorite. I don't think people should sleep on them. They've had a bad stretch after Thanksgiving, as you've talked about over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
But I mean, that offense is extremely explosive.
yeah.
With the addition of Zach Ertz, a solid tight end.
Yeah,
Probably the best trade deadline acquisition in the NFL, in my
I
opinion.
agree. I agree. Yeah, I'm with Bobby. That's a super fluid offense when everybody is healthy, and and that like, tandem of power and speed like Connor and Edmonds have really it complements what Kyler Murray is capable of. Their defense isn't anything to slouch on either, you know. So
I've
I
struggled with the Cardinals coming up big in big game situations. Obviously, last Sunday was a big game situation. They're playing, one of the best teams in the NFL record wise, and they proved it. They did well. I'm just I have an issue with them getting past a team like Green Bay. I think that in my opinion, that is the clear and above alpha right now in the
for sure.
NFC. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched. So since I wasn't watching the Bengals game, I was watching the Ravens game, and I got to tell you, I wasn't super impressed with the Rams.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm
Matt
not.
Stafford looked like shit.
Yeah, and
3 turnovers in the first 3 quarters, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
He had a pick
and
six to start the game.
I only heard the only big play he made, honestly, was that touchdown to OBJ in the end zone at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Right, and OBJ made that play exist.
It's pretty big play to say.
Yeah, I'm just saying that OBJ made that play exist. That
So
wasn't anything with
OBJ with
Stafford.
1 touchdown and 1 tank punch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when you're looking at the NFC, you're only really concerned about Green Bay. That's the real team that
Yeah.
you're walking into Lambeau and you're legitimately like, oh shit, this team beats me in most categories, right?
Right.
And I think their running game is even better now. I mean, fucking AJ Dillon showed up in just a pair of Carhartt bibs to their game Sunday,
So
and
awesome.
that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And he just said it's colder where I'm from. That was his reason why he wore just Carhartt bibs. It's colder, so I'm just representing my hometown.
And everyone
tells
in
me
Green
that
Bay, everyone in Green Bay just like synchronicity just jizzed in their pants when they saw him and heard him say, "They're just like, oh, he's one of us. We love him." Yep. Great draft.
Look, all that tells me is that guy's got probably 2 or 3 screws loose, and you should be concerned with him out on the open field. That's what that tells me. Because just a guy that's got it all together doesn't just wear Carhartt bibs and go, it's just colder where I come from.
It's whatever.
But all jokes aside, AJ Dillon has been exceptional for Green Bay. I think he's been their factor that's helped them get through some tight spots, and would probably for 85% of the NFL be a starting running back all the time. He would be your 3-down back. So
with the NFC kind of wrapped up, or not wrapped up, I don't want to say that, but we have a clear favorite, right? We have a clear favorite in the NFC. Green Bay, they clinched last week home field advantage with 2 games left to go in the season. No one has clinched home field in the AFC with the Bengals beating the Chiefs. I think prior to that game, if the Chiefs had won, everybody would kind of nod to the Chiefs and say they're the favorite still. They are the team. Everything, the AFC runs through Arrowhead. With them losing, is it an open door still, or are the Chiefs still kind of that premier, that number 1 team that we're looking to in the AFC? Bobby, I want your perspective on that.
I mean, they lost to a very, very good Cincinnati team, but I still think the Chiefs are the team to beat. I mean, the way that they've got the offense rolling in the second half of the season, they're going to be a tough team to stop.
Yeah.
The Bengals, have the benefit of having an excellent defensive line. They are able to get in and cause some disruption. But I mean, the Chiefs, they have so many weapons. They are fast. Travis Kelce's best tight end in the league, 100%. Strong, big, athletic, can block, can run routes. Beat most corners. And having Patrick Mahomes, arguably the best quarterback in the league, they're still the team to beat.
Todd, what do you think?
Yeah, I concur. There's not any proof to me that shows that they aren't still the AFC favorite. Look, I think that that's not by a large margin, though, right? I mean, that's a
Right.
very narrow window to be the best team in the AFC, and you're we're going to be walking into the playoffs with 5 of the 7 teams winning at least 10 games that are making it to the playoffs. In the NFC, don't forget last year there was a team that made it with a losing record.
Yeah.
Um, that's a big deal. That's a big nod to how tough it is going to be for any team in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl, because I mean football is what it
It's a
is.
toss up every week, though. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a couple.
yeah,
That said, the Titans, if the Titans match up with, I don't know, like the Titans match up with the Chargers, I think the Titans are going to blow them out of the fucking water. I think they're going to
yeah,
destroy the Chargers. I have
yeah.
no confidence in the Chargers' ability to stop Derrick Henry at all. So I don't see that happening. So I think there's a couple of opportunities, at least on wild card weekend. But once you get after that first weekend, it's anybody's, man. In my opinion, even the number
Yeah.
one seed, I think, is up for. I just, it's anybody's game. So that just shows you how important it is to get that first win in wild card weekend, because if you get it, you could go though. You could run it out.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. Yeah, the AFC is just it is so crazy how deep the AFC is. We talked about it a lot, but like I've just kind of, before we got on here, and I'm just trying to put into perspective how I can articulate how who makes it where based on what. And I'm looking at all these teams. I'm like, Jesus Christ, any of these teams can make it to the Super Bowl from the AFC. Any team that makes it, and I'm talking even the two wild. I would say 6 of the 7 spots. I think the Colts have a significantly better chance of doing
I was gonna say, the
making
Colts
the
are a
run.
team that I just, the way that they run the football is just, it's hard to not. But at the end of the day, they have Carson Wentz, right? That's
Right. That's scary, right? It's the same thing. You put Carson Wentz and Derek Carr almost into a similar category, right? Like those aren't the guys that I want leading me to victory.
At the
I
same
do.
time though, I haven't seen Derek Carr necessarily shrivel up in a huge game because he hasn't been in one. You know what I mean? He
Right.
hasn't been
He
in a
hasn't had the
big game.
opportunity. Yeah.
I've seen Carson Wentz fail on a large stage often.
Sure.
So it is what it is. And I think it'll be interesting. We'll see how this last week of football plays out. I think our picks are going to be fucking hilarious on Thursday. I can't wait to see what that goes. But all the COVID implications.
You're gonna get
That's
some wild picks
crazy.
from me because I am 4 games back from you and 6 behind
So
Todd. So
what's this thing? Let's just, yeah. So Todd's got a 2 gamer on me. Damn. Damn.
it's
Okay.
a big week for Todd at 13-3. You came in 1 game behind at 12-4, and I was in the cellar at 11-5.
So
Your boy's
still great
feeling
weeks at all of us.
saucy.
But I think we have to
Saucy.
impose
It's
a
sad,
rule
but it's
that
sad that when I go 11-5, I still get my ass kicked.
I think Todd needs to pick first on like 2 out of every
Sure.
3 games. I think that's
I'll do it for every single game.
deal. All right.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
I think that.
So
I think
I'll
that's.
pay you.
I
I'll
think
pay
that's
you
very.
$300 for that tractor. You know what? Give me 200 and it's yours. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think the person. I think that's a fair rule. The person that's in first place
I
picks
like that
first
we're
for all.
implementing it in the last week, and I'm in second. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. That's great. No,
I'm gonna try to cause a lot of misdirection. That's my objective on Thursday. It's
A lot
just
of dudes.
shucking and jiving. Yeah.
Charlie Conway
And
looking motherfucker.
yeah, that puck's gonna be up in the air, and you're gonna be looking to the net.
All right, Luis. So,
Thank you.
I think that we've pretty much beat the shit out of the NFL. College football, just, we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this before we wrap up for the night. But college football, obviously, disappointing result for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Any quick takeaways on that game before we get to the other one?
They hung with him in the first half, and Nick Saban came out and said they belonged. I think that's a powerful statement for not only Cincinnati but them coming into the Big 12 next year. I think it's going to continue to draw a lot of attention to Luke Fickell. and the Cincinnati Bearcats, and you're going to start seeing a hell of a lot more talent funnel through Cincinnati, and some smaller schools, to try to compete since they've proven that they can get there. They hung for a little bit. Alabama, did their thing, but I think a couple years down the line with a few more recruits that of a higher caliber, I think they can hang right with them.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is that it is very, very clear what the SEC looks like versus the American Conference. Honestly, right? I mean, and there were people giving Cincinnati a lot of shit that game. Oh, you didn't deserve to be here, blah blah blah. Okay. Utah barely lost to Ohio State, and you could fucking say that, they didn't have Wilson, they didn't have Olave, they didn't have Haskins. They had the number 2 recruiting class in the country. They also have 19 4 or 5-star wide receivers, and you still had your quarterback. You had your running back. Like, I don't think anybody beats Alabama in that game. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
and I don't think anybody gives them a better game than what UC gave them.
So my initial takeaway from that game is that UC was way too conservative. Listen, you are a underdog coming into this game against a perennial powerhouse, a team that has been there every single time that there has been a playoff, won it more than not, and you can't just play conservative and hope to hang with them. You have to go out and try and beat them. You have to smack them in the mouth. And they just didn't do it. They were way too conservative. Desmond Ridder didn't even really run the ball a lot, which is a huge part of their game.
But he would agree with you, though. He came out and said that after the game.
Yeah.
He said that he felt like that their scheme was too conservative. And you're right. You're absolutely right.
It was. I didn't hear that, so that's good to know that he's admitted that. But on the back end of that, I think the points that Bobby made are exactly correct. I think, listen, you look at Oklahoma, and the reason I'm referencing Oklahoma is because UC is about to move into the Big 12. You look at a team like Oklahoma, they're coming down, they're losing their head coach, their quarterback just announced that he's moving into the transfer portal. And I understand Oklahoma will probably be in, what's that?
They lost both of them because Rattler transferred.
Right, Rattler's out too. So, and I think with them moving to the SEC, you're going to see Cincinnati move into a position where they could run the Big 12. They could come in and in a couple of years be a Big 12 powerhouse, winning it almost every year and getting an automatic bid to the playoff. You could see Cincinnati in the playoffs frequently. And that's going to just be huge for the city, for the university. The program is going to continue, as Bobby said, to bring in more talent because of more exposure. They're going to get bigger matchups before they get into conference play. It's just all around a great thing for the school, for the program to have been exposed to that. So, and then Todd, as you mentioned, you said, I think we're seeing the difference between the SEC and the American Conference. I'm going to take that another level. You're seeing the difference between the SEC and the rest of fucking college football. With what Georgia did to Michigan, it was insane.
That was embarrassing.
Just drugged them around like, what the fuck are you doing at this party? Like a frat guy just throwing out some fucking GDI out of the party. That's what's happening. And they're just like, dude, you don't belong here. And I don't think anyone does. I don't think there's any team or conference that is remotely close other than Ohio State. Ohio State is the only program in the country that can even sniff the shorts of the SEC. And that's because of Urban Meyer. That's because Urban Meyer came in there, instilled an SEC type recruiting, type of offense, type of scheme, type of mentality, all of those things. Urban Meyer came in and instilled that in Ohio State. There's no conference even remotely close to the SEC. It's just not.
No, it's insane. Yeah, you're right. I think when you put that list, you go Power 5. There's the SEC, and then there's the rest, and then there's the rest. Right? Like this SEC stands out so far against the other Power 5 conferences, and there's realistically there weren't too many other than Mississippi State and Auburn. The SEC pretty much handled most of their bowl games, so it's not like
I'm not 100% certain on that. I don't know. I don't exactly know the entire their record. I have no idea what it is.
So I believe they are 5-2 or 4-3.
I mean, either way, my point wasn't necessarily about the depth of the SEC. My point is more about the top end talent of the SEC. If you come out on top of the SEC, if you come out top of the East and you come out on top of the West, you're probably going to the playoff. Like if you make it to the SEC championship game, you're probably going to get to the playoff. That's the message that has been sent by the committee over the last few years. That's the message that has been sent by the results over the last few years of the teams that have won. I mean, look at LSU. Look at Bama. I mean that Georgia. This is it. These are the teams that are doing it, guys, and there's nobody even close. I mean, yeah, Clemson was in there for a little. I mean, Clemson as a program, I don't know where they're going to be next year. I think they had a blunder in their QB play, and I'm not entirely sure what their recruiting and development looks like. I'm sure it's great because they're Clemson. I'm sure they have a great class coming in, but like Notre Dame, USC, Washington, Michigan State. I'm just naming Texas, Oklahoma. I'm just naming off all these, blue blood, top tier programs historically speaking. I don't know any of them that would hang with Bama or Georgia right now. Any of them. There's just
No,
such a vast gap.
there's not. There are none. No.
Such a vast gap. So it'll be interesting. It's very interesting to me. Georgia opening up as a favorite against Alabama, um, -3, I believe. So take advantage of that if you can. If you feel like Bama's going to win, you're going to get some juice back. So go ahead and take advantage of that. Anything else that you guys want to harp on before we wrap this up for the evening?
Yeah. There's. We could talk briefly about some quick blunders in Las Vegas. If you guys want to touch base on that.
Blunders in Las Vegas?
Yeah. So we had our the third Las Vegas Raider get charged and arrested with the DUI over the weekend.
Oh, me oh my. Who's that?
Hobbs, defensive back. I can't remember his first name. His last name is Hobbs. He was arrested roughly 4 o'clock in the morning Sunday in Las Vegas
Which is
for a
basically
DUI
noon
charge.
anywhere else, so don't.
Right, right. So now we are in our third Vegas player in a year receiving a DUI. Hobbs being the most recent, Ruggs being in there, and don't forget Josh Jacobs got a DUI last
So
year.
I just don't listen. I am somebody that. So I don't know the situation. I am somebody that has had one in my past. I'm not proud of it, obviously. It was a situation where I completely thought I was good, and I wasn't. In the letter of the law, and so I, paid my fine and moved on. I just that was before Uber, ladies and gentlemen. That was before any of all of these resources that you have available to you right now, especially as a millionaire. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I was
I was gonna pose the question to both of you, and then I can share my piece on it. Is if you are the Raiders organization, what are you doing to police this or to create what plan are you putting in place to stop this? Because now this is 3 times is a real opportunity within an organization.
Yeah, I think, kind of like we talked about with Zach Taylor, in terms of the coaching, he isn't the mouthpiece. His message is pushed out through like CJ Uzama and Joe Burrow and, all these guys, all these veterans and Von Bell. His message is pushed out through those mouthpieces. I think really the Raiders organization needs to utilize guys, whether it's Derek Carr or whether it's Max Crosby or whomever it is, they need to be the mouthpiece of the organization. They need to be the guys that are like, look, we're not doing this. This isn't us. Whatever you do on your own time is fine, but these are the resources we have available. We need to utilize that. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to take these steps to be careful, then maybe you shouldn't be here. Maybe you shouldn't be a part of this team. Now, I don't know the situation behind this Hobbs guy. I don't know the situation behind his DUI. I'm assuming he was just pulled over, and he didn't harm anyone, and maybe he was pulled over for a taillight being out, and he just happened to be over the limit.
Yeah, so there were no injuries from it. It was just a scenario where he was doing some elusive driving, some suspicious driving. He was pulled over. He was over 2 times the legal limit. Um, he was at like a 0.18 or 19. So
Jesus.
I just I so
That's not
Corey, I
hard
think
to
your
hit,
perspective
gentlemen.
on
We've
it
hit we've hit that limit on this show.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. And look, I think your perspective is unique in that you're saying, hey, Las Vegas needs to find teammates to be the voice of reason for, to camaraderise their teammates. And I think that there really isn't. I mean, I haven't heard of Las Vegas hasn't come out and said, hey, here's our solution to put a stop to this. They haven't gone that far yet. There was a lot of PR to basically honestly distance themselves from these scenarios, because in all three. So I went back and looked at Josh Jacobs' article, Hobbs' article, and Ruggs' article, and all three Las Vegas's comments were the same: where we are aware of the situation and we're handling it. There's not a hey.
At the same time,
and I think that
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I look. I don't think that a franchise is responsible for the individual. The individual makes their decision. They pay the piper for it, right? But I think that there is a point in time as an organization that your culture has to reflect what these guys are doing off the field, right? There has to be some of that kind of ties in. And look, these guys are all adults, right? These are all 21, mostly 21 and up professional athletes who are handling. They're in their career. They're working through their career, and they're trying to make a name for themselves, and they're trying to set themselves up to be fiscally successful for their future. But organizations realize that these guys they don't have the tools to be responsible or to be cognitive, to understand. Your brain is still developing the logic and the reason until you're 26 years old. That's when your brain starts making logic make more sense. When you're 22 or 23, like Hobbs was, he's a 23-year-old. He's a second round pick from 2 years ago.
Billionaire.
And his brain is still trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong. But my point being is that yes, the individual makes the decision, but as an organization, what point in time do you say, all right, we need to get our arms wrapped around this and try to at least give these guys an outlet somehow, some way. That's my opinion on that. And I'm not a coddler. I'm sure you guys know that. I'm not somebody that coddles anybody in general, and I don't want this to come off as being a coddling kumbaya. Let's get around the campfire and sing songs. This is a hey, our organization's having a real prominent issue. Once we move to Las Vegas, we need to do something about this before somebody else gets involved, right? That's kind of my perspective on it.
Bobby, what's yours?
I mean, it's tough, right? On one hand, you've got somebody who went out and got a DUI, and you're very aware that your teammate did the same thing 2 months ago and killed somebody. But obviously,
yeah,
at the end of the day, when you move, an organization to that type of market that is known for the nightlife, and you're putting millions of dollars in basically these kids' hands and saying, go have fun. At what point does the organization step in and, contractually hire a 24-hour chauffeur for the team and say, hey, if you're going out and drinking, you need to check in and the chauffeur will take you and pick you up. Just put a stop to it. You're gonna potentially save their life and the lives of others. It's not about, the organization shouldn't be thinking, oh, well, it shouldn't just be about their players. It should be about the fans in the city that they're in, because obviously that that wreck that Henry Ruggs had, it didn't impact just the Raiders. It impacted the community. It impacted the fans.
Yeah.
On a
Mhm.
large level.
Absolutely.
And you have to think on a granular scale when it comes to the safety of not only your players but the people that come and support you. So
Yeah,
That's a good
I think
perspective.
it is a good point. At the same time, the only thing that I struggle with on that is in this, you mentioned in this market, in the Vegas market, I look at other teams in different cities, like Los Angeles for one, New York City another, Chicago, New Orleans, Miami. Those are all massive party towns. Like New York, the bars are open till 4 in the morning. Las Vegas, obviously, they don't close, but Miami, they're open till 4 in the morning. Los Angeles, I don't know, but I assume they're open probably pretty fucking late there too. Chicago, they're open late. That's just that's the scene. That's what it is, and we don't have those issues there that we're having here in Las Vegas. And you wonder, is it a growing pain? It's like we're new to this market, and so we're still kind of learn. It's new and fun and fresh, and we're like
Sure.
exposed to this market, and we're acting differently because of it, or the city rather. I don't know. And at the end of the day, it's like, I mentioned that the Raiders need to go through their players and build a culture of responsibility. I don't necessarily think that the Raiders organization is responsible, if that makes sense. Like the
Sure.
players have responsibility to each other first and foremost. If they don't want to be responsible, their paycheck will reflect that, right? They'll either be
Right.
cut, suspended, they won't make games, they won't get paid.
Right.
But when it comes to sports, your responsibility really first and foremost is to your teammates because they rely on you to be able to
Right.
come through and be there when they need you during the game. So I think that the locker room is more responsible or bears more of that responsibility. Unfortunately for them, that's just what it does, um, or what it is rather, more so than the organization. Now,
Right.
would it be a bad thing if the organization implemented these things you're talking about? Chauffeurs or programs or educational, enrichment or whatever. No, that's not a bad thing. That'd be great. Who would not want that? I wish my company did more stuff like that. That'd be fantastic. But do they have that responsibility at a base level? I don't think that's where that falls. So, but
Yeah. I think if I'm the city of Las Vegas, I'm more concerned because they're trying to grow that city into a professional franchise city, right?
yeah,
They're
they
trying to
want
get
hockey, they want basketball, they want baseball, they want it all.
they want Oakland and Las Vegas, right? They want the A's to play in Las Vegas
Yeah,
now, right? That's kind of the thing is, hey, bring Oakland to Las Vegas, the fan base will come to,
yeah,
in theory. And if you're Oakland and you're taking the small market and moving to big market because Las Vegas immediately becomes a larger market for you.
yeah,
Um, that's a big question mark for me, right? Is now you as an organization, you're thinking, great, I'm going to have my hands on more money, which means I'm going to be able to sign bigger contracts and get bigger names and maybe keep some of my names now, like Matt Chapman and Matt Olson, keep those guys in. But do I want to expose my 40-man roster, 27-man roster, 25-man roster, whatever, what have you? Do I want to expose them to this nightlife? Right. And look, and we haven't heard anything from any player from the Golden Knights going out and doing this, right?
nope.
So that's kind of where I think the Raiders need to. That's maybe not necessarily take responsibility. That's not my point. Is but for some self reflection, if you will.
So that being
Like,
said,
hey,
when it comes to hockey, just a general note about hockey, like players of professional hockey are just older. They're older.
right,
Like
right,
you could be in a college hockey player and be like 23, 24, and that's
right.
normal.
Yeah,
Um,
because you've already played somewhere else
you've played
in a
juniors,
different
right? And then
country.
you go
Yeah,
and you play college hockey, and then after you play college hockey, you get drafted, and then you go and play in the minors, right? You go play for their farm teams, and then you get called up to Vegas, right? So,
right.
those
Yeah, the
guys,
average
generally
age is
speaking, are in their
probably 5 years
mid to
older.
late
Yeah,
20s before they're even sniffing Vegas. So,
right.
um, that I think there is a little bit different versus 21 years old you're drafted out of Alabama and you go straight to Las Vegas, like Henry Ruggs.
Right.
So interesting dynamic. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good conversation. I'm glad we were able to touch on that. Chat has been on fire tonight, so I don't think we have anything else to cover this evening. But
En fuego.
yeah, but we'll be back. Do we have a game Thursday? I don't think we do.
Mm-mm. No Thursday game this week
No
again.
Thursday game again. That's boring. I love Thursday games. The first games are going to be Saturday. Saturday at 4:30, Chiefs Broncos. Saturday at 8:15 primetime on ABC, ESPN. Cowboys and Eagles going at it. So those are your next NFL games slated up for you. Obviously, national championship game a few weeks away. Georgia taking on Alabama. Going to be fun. We'll be sure to talk about that as that gets a little bit closer. But NFL playoffs are the big deal right now. As Bobby Steelers fighting and hoping to make it in for one last dance. Last dance, Ben Roethlisberger. Come on.
Last dance for romance.
So yeah, no, I appreciate everybody coming in, liking, sharing the video. Jordan Olson at the buzzer, coming in and liking the Rally Towel stream. Jordan, thank you, good sir. Appreciate
Thank you, sir.
Anything else you guys want to say before we sign off?
Rob Manfred's still a piece of shit.
Rob Manfred's a piece of shit. Yep, I like it. On that note,
Lockout
ladies
still
and
in
gentlemen,
existence.
what was that, Todd?
Lockout still in existence. You
Yeah,
are right.
Still exists. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you're doing this week, kick ass at it. For Todd and Bobby, I'm Corey. Thank you for joining Rally Towel Sports. We'll see you next time.